All right, the time is 6:01. Our regular city council meeting for February 7th, 2023 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Davis will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, thank you for watching over the city of Schertz. We ask that you guide us as we make decisions to better our community. Inspire us to work in your name and serve as an example for others in our community. May our efforts to build a community that is full of hope and a spirit that honors your teaching and empowers everyone in our community an understanding of each other's differences and love for their neighbors. We ask that you watch over our employees and first responders as they work faithfully to serve our residents whenever they're needed. In your name we pray, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Okay, first on the agenda is the appointment of a new mayor pro temp, discussion and consideration and action regarding the confirmation, appointment, or the election of a mayor pro temp. Before we do get open the floor, the mayor pro temp is a member of our council who performs the duties during the mayor's incapacity or absence. The mayor pro temp is selected by the majority vote of the council among us and its membership. The mayor pro temp retains the right to vote on all matters before council while performing his or her duties as mayor. The mayor pro temp has a term of 6 months. And Mayor pro temp Hayward, thank you again for performing those duties between August 2022 and January 2023. And based on our procedures, the consideration and appointment for the next mayor pro temp is Councilmember Brown. He will serve between February 2023 and July 2023. Okay, council, floor is open for discussion.
Come here.
I-
Mayor, make a motion to appoint Councilmember Brown to the mayor pro temp position for the next 6 months.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Scagliola and second by Councilmember Whitaker. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. There you go.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Congratulations, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown will now take the oath of office.
I, Tim Brown, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of Mayor Pro Tem and will do to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and this state, so help me God. Congratulations.
Congratulations on your selection. All right, we'll move on. We have a presentation, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo proclamation. Ms. Hall, if you can just join us up here. The City of Schertz proclamation. Official rodeo season, and let's rodeo San Antonio. Whereas the 74th Annual San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, one of the largest and most prestigious events in the Alamo City, will be held between February 9th and February 26th, 2023, at the AT&T Center and the Freeman Coliseum. Whereas the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo is a volunteer organization that emphasizes agriculture and education to develop the youth of Texas. Whereas since its inception, over $243 million has been committed by this organization to the youth of Texas in the forms of scholarships, grants, endowments, auctions, calf scramble programs, and show premiums, with $11.5 million committed back in 2022. Whereas the lifeblood of the organization is the over 6,000 volunteers that cooperated partners and patriots who support the event and mission. Whereas in 2022, over 1.5 million visitors enjoyed the exciting activities such as world-class entertainment, a carnival, educational exhibits, family activities and attractions, livestock and horse shows and sales, mutton busting, that's my favorite, calf scrambles, extreme bulls, and shopping for the entire family to enjoy. Now, therefore, it is the resolution of the City of Schertz through the Mayor, Ralph Gutierrez, and the City Council hereby recognize and proclaim February 9th through February 26, 2023 as the official rodeo season. And we call upon all of the people of the City of Schertz to join in supporting the activities and the mission of the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo to support the youth of Texas, the education and agriculture. Ms. Hall, congratulations and thank you. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to say a few words?
We are the ambassadors from the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. I just want to highlight a few things that this committee has done in Guadalupe County. We have attended 4-H meetings in Cibolo, Schertz, Seguin, Marion, Navarro, and Santa Clara. And I am so happy to announce that the Discovery 4-H is with us tonight. We've attended a lot of their meetings and gotten to know these kids, and they are terrific. We've also gone to 4-H meetings at Clemens and Steele High School. We talk a lot about the sales scholarships, and as you pointed out, $11.5 million for the kids this year. Just senior 4-Hers and high school students. We encourage them to document their involvement in everything that they do. That's in school, community, family, and also civic organizations. I'd like to note that so far, we have awarded 220 students in Guadalupe County scholarships. So with our going to the 4-H and FFA groups, let's make that 500, okay? We've attended the youth shows at the fairgrounds, the show in Schertz, 4-H and FFA gathering at the Guadalupe County Ag Office last September. We have attended parades here in Guadalupe County, Marion Sausage Parade, Cibolo Christmas Parade, Seguin Christmas Parade, Schertz Christmas Parade, Guadalupe County Fair Parade, and the 4th of July Parade here in Schertz. In all, we are in 23 parades in Bexar and surrounding counties. We have met and talked to so many of these kids. They're excited about what they do, enthusiastic, and it is such a pleasure to be around these kids. And we look forward to visiting with them at the show because they're bringing their animals or they're involved in other activities taking place at our show. So, guys, Tony?
As we like to say, let's rodeo!
Rodeo! San Antonio!
Thank you all so much for sharing your time and your involvement in our community. It's really, really appreciated. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is employee recognition. Our city manager, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I came out here so we could see the PowerPoint over there. So I love doing these. These are the service recognitions, and in this case, coming before you, council, this is for folks that have 20 years of service or more. And usually that means a couple of things. It means you're old. No, not really. Not at all. Not at all. But it also means that you're dedicated to your craft and you're dedicated to the city of Schertz. And that's something that we value highly here and want to encourage and definitely want to reward. So, a couple of things. What was happening in November of 2002? Well, at the time, the number one song was Lose Yourself by Eminem. The number one movie was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. That was for you. Best-selling vehicle in America was the Ford F-Series. That was a big shocker. Texan George W. Bush was elected to his first term as president. But more importantly, the city of Schertz hired Allison Gorzel and Karen Bowerman to come work for him. All right. So first I'm going to call up Allison, tell you a little bit about Allison. Come on up here. She's got the uniform on. Everything looks very official. So, welcome. So, Allison Gorzel started her career as a billing supervisor and did the billing for Schertz EMS in November 2002. And you can see her picture up there. She is now the office manager. She was promoted office manager and has a staff of 3 billing specialists. And this is actually her 25th year of doing ambulance billing. She was born in Houston, graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School, and attended St. Mary's University before changing direction, becoming a wife and a mother. So she decided that attending and passing the EMT Academy would be the right thing to do. And she's a certified ambulance coder and certified privacy officer. She's married to Richard Gorzel for the last 16 years, I suppose he's over here, all right. She has 3 children, Royal, Cheyenne, and Haley, and her son Royal and his wife and their grandbaby, Kaya, live in Puerto Rico, and her daughter Cheyenne and her spouse are Army, and they're deployed overseas. Where are they deployed? Oh, in Iraq, okay. And her daughter Haley is an A honor roll student at Samuel Clements High School. And I even hear a rumor that she's competing for that top spot. So, for 11 years, Allison has co-led her daughter's Girl Scout troop. She's done horseback riding and I fly with the troop, which took her way out of her comfort zone, I think. But she loves to spend time with her family on RV trips, and it's rumored by her family that she makes the best cup of tea in the world. So, congratulations, Allison, on 20 years. We hope to have you for many, many more. All right, now if we could have Karen come up. Where's Karen? There she is. Congratulations. So we were fortunate enough to have Karen join us also in November of 2002, and she happened upon the job by bringing her daughter to the story time at the library and found out about the position. So she started out as a part-time position in the library and then began working full-time in April of 2003. So her general duties include staffing various desks, as well as managing day-to-day activities of the library, maintaining the facilities, performing a variety of administrative and technical functions, and then supports just in general, supporting the public library operations. All very impressive. She works daily with the general public, checking in and out items and working with computers and printing, and helps people with their resume and applications, and provides general tech help. She also manages the interlibrary loan program, which is where we trade off with other libraries around the state or around the country. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, Karen was born in Austin, Texas, but she grew up a military brat. So she was raised in Texas, Alabama, Florida, Colorado, Virginia, and upstate New York, where she graduated high school. In middle school, she was on the swim team, and in high school, the drama club, and helped with costumes and building sets, and was in the chorus, okay, as in high school. She celebrated her 40th anniversary with her husband, Jeff, in 2022. Jeff is here. There you go, all right. And they have 4 kids, stepdaughter Mandy, and 2 sons, Byron and Andrew. They're both software engineers, surprise that, with all the technical stuff that you do. And their daughter Rachel is a recent graduate of Texas A&M. She is Karen's the proud grandmother, not Rachel, of 5, proud grandmother of 5, with her newest being born in November of 22. She loves to read, loves to cook, bake, and listen to true crime podcasts. I like that too. That's a lot of fun. She's a dog lover, and 2 of her dogs actually came from her association with the library. One from a patron who was a breeder, and another was as a result of Pups and Popsicles event. Is that y'all's event? That's y'all's. Oh, okay. I meant library. Okay, so she also loves to travel, went to Alaska in 2019, and most recently went on a vacation with most of her family and her 91-year-old father. So congratulations, Karen, and we look for many, many more years. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing that with us. All right, we'll move on to employee introductions. First is Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams, Mr. Brian James. It is my pleasure to announce to you, introduce Mr. Logan Allen. We are actually fully staffed now at Fleet. So we have 4 mechanics and we are fully staffed. Took some time, but we got there. Logan is actually from Allen, Texas. It's a little north of Dallas. His hobbies are playing rugby and working on cars. I'm trying to do the math myself, but he's been playing rugby for 17 years. Started playing in high school. Logan also has 3 kids. One is 14, and he also has 2 twins. Are they boys or girls? One of each. Oh, he has, okay, one of each. Yeah. And they just turned 1. Yes. He's been working on cars since he was 19. We actually stole Logan from Ford, but he was working from Ford at Ford from 2008 to about 2022. He moved to New Braunfels area in August of 2019, but now he lives in Live Oak, and he works here in Schertz with us. So, Logan, the mic's all yours.
Like everyone always says, thank you for the opportunity, but I'll change it up today. I always say you're welcome. So that's kind of my personality. I'm kind of free going and all that, kind of goofy, whatever. Just loving going with the flow, but that's it.
Well, welcome to our team.
Thank you.
Love that. Next, we have Public Works, Streets.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. I want to introduce Nancy Ortiz. Her family pet, she loves her dog Thor. dog? Little bitty dog, okay. Her first job, she was a dishwasher. Where was that at, Nancy? Okay. What she likes to do at City Schertz, anything involved driving a big truck or anything big, equipment. So, her favorite holiday is Thanksgiving for the food. Favorite hobby is she likes to work on her 67 four-door Nova. So, so, and her favorite sport, baseball. All the teams, all of them. Her dream vacation is being at home with the family. Her favorite class in high school is typing, and her favorite way to relax again is with her family. So, Nancy?
Just want to say thank y'all for the job.
Well, welcome to our team, Nancy, welcome. Next, we have purchasing.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. Julie Golke, the purchasing manager here at the city, and it is my extreme pleasure to introduce you guys to our newest purchasing specialist. Angela Perone started with the city on December 19th. She's going to be handling mid-level purchasing, surplus disposal, and a plethora of other duties. She's come in and she's jumped right in. She's already part of the Wellness Committee and the Staff Appreciation Committee, so she's jumping in and meeting people. Angela was born in Leesville, Louisiana at Fort Polk, where they tried to give her to a different family, and her mom said, nope, that's not my kid, mine had hair. She, yeah, true story, graduated from the Academy of Creative Education, which is an accelerated school that allows for early graduation. She married the love of her life, Mike Perone, 14 years ago. He's at home with a man cold, so... She has 2 children, a daughter, Alondra, and a son, Daniel, who is a straight-A student at Woodlake Hills Middle School, and a Frenchie, Zena, who is basically like a third child. She loves spending time with family and friends, camping, crocheting blankets, baking, going to the lake in the summer, and sitting by the fire pit in the winter. And this is Angela.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that I serve the city of Schertz well.
Well, welcome to our team, Angela. Next, we have Neighborhood Services.
Good evening. I'd like to present Cody Raines, our new Code Enforcement Officer in Neighborhood Services. Cody began his public service career in 2006 with the Texas State of Health and Human Services Commission, and after 10 years with the agency, he had the opportunity to move to the state office and work on Senate, Farm, and House bills. He also worked on the Healthy Texas Women program for an additional 3 years. Cody joined the city of Schertz December 19th and has been hitting the ground running. He is actually getting married on February 23rd and is expecting his first child May 9th. He will, in addition to a new wife, will have 4 stepchildren. So welcome, Cody.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope to serve the city and this community well.
Welcome to our team, Cody. Next, we have Parks Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. We have 2 new employees that we'd like to introduce you guys to tonight. They both started on December 5th. The first one, so this is Sydney Paredes. She's our new recreation coordinator. She was born and raised in San Antonio, where she graduated with her bachelor's degree from St. Mary's University. And she also played softball at St. Mary's University as well. Previously, she's worked for the City of San Antonio Parks and Recreation for 2 years as a program developer for the community centers, and then was a recreation supervisor for her 3rd year there before we stole her away. She's been with Schertz for 2 months now and has already joined the Chamber's Hyper Committee. And so she's been out ribbon cutting some things. You guys might have already seen her out. She currently lives out in Bulverde, making that nice little drive to and from work every day, but she says it's so worth it. She has a huge family, so she spends a lot of her free time with them and enjoys being outdoors and active. Unless it's cold, then she's going to stay inside.
Hello, it is so nice to finally be able to be introduced to you all. Being with Schertz for about 2 months now, and it's been nothing but great. I look forward to building relationships with you all and seeing you all at our community events and programs. So thank you.
Well, welcome, welcome, Sydney. And you will see us at the events.
Our second new employee is Michael Strinelli. He is one of our new maintenance technicians. So he was originally born in Florida, but moved to Texas in 2014. He also used to be in the Army and previously has worked at HEB. In his free time, he likes to play video games and also maintains some fish tanks.
I've been here for 2 months, and it's been a very interesting last 2 months.
Welcome to our
Thank
team,
you.
Michael. Next, we have E EMS.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet since I have 5 new employees to introduce to you tonight. First, I have Nate DeLeon. He's a full-time EMT with us. He started January 3rd of this year. I grew up in the San Antonio area, lived here his entire life. He's traveled through Schertz many times, and now this is his first time actually exploring this area. He attended the Schertz EMS Training Academy and obtained his EMT certification. This is his first EMT job, and he's excited for the growth here at Schertz. He has a loving partner who is pregnant, and she'll be 6 months pregnant on Valentine's Day. So he values God, family, and happiness. So welcome to Nate.
Just happy to be here. It's been a long road to get to this point, and I'm very grateful.
Welcome to our team.
Next up, I have Ryan Moore. He's also a full-time EMT with us, started in January as well. He grew up in the Marble Falls area, moved to San Antonio in December, attended Southwest EMT Academy in Burnet, and obtained his EMT certification there. He's worked in healthcare for about 1.5 years now, serving as an ER tech and a volunteer firefighter. This is his first full-time EMS job, so we welcome him. He enjoys being outside and doing hobbies such as disc golf, hiking, and he likes landscape photography. So welcome to Ryan.
Thank you all very much for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome, Ryan.
Next for you, I have Taryn Jaramillo. He came to us in January, born and raised in Denver, Colorado, currently lives here in Schertz. He's enrolled at the University of Texas, San Antonio, working on his biology degree. Been in EMS for about 8 months. He started with Acadian Ambulance in June of 2022, and we were fortunate enough to steal him away from them. In his free time, he enjoys riding his motorcycle. So welcome, Taryn.
Hello all, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
Aiden Martin is next. He is also an EMT with us and came to us in January. Lives in, or grew up in the Schertz area and currently lives in San Antonio with his wife. He attended our EMS Academy here at Schertz, and he was also the first recipient of the CISO Pipes and Drums Scholarship. So very educated and mature, right? So he currently attends the University of the Incarnate Word. He's been in EMS for about 3 months, and he's a 4th generation EMT. So Aiden's been married for about 4 months and enjoys spending time with his wife. So welcome, Aiden.
Yep. I've had many opportunities here in Schertz, born and raised, so I'm very thankful for this opportunity to carry on my lineage and just serve my community here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Last up this evening is Ethan Hides. He's also a full-time EMT with us, started in January. I grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, currently lives in San Antonio. He is attending the University of Texas Health Science Center in his 2nd semester through his paramedic program. He's been in EMS for about 4 years, and prior to getting into EMS full-time, he was active duty Army where he served as a medic. So we thank him for his service and welcome Ethan.
I'm happy to be part of the team.
Wow. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, all of you gentlemen. You provide a very essential service to our community here, and we're so proud that you are part of our team. Thank you. Next, we have the fire department. Okay, we'll move on to inspections then. Welcome back. Oh. Yeah, do we have someone from inspections? Yeah, all right, Will.
Well, good evening. I'm Will Darnapole, Plans Examiner for the City of Schertz. Tonight, we're going to be introducing two of our new permit techs. We'll start with Sarah Rodriguez. She was born and raised down the street in New Braunfels, Texas. She brings with her 10 years plus of experience in customer service, collections, and finance. She has been married for 16 years this month and has a 15-year-old daughter. She enjoys family time, watching movies, trying different foods, and loves her K-dramas, Korean dramas. She also enjoys working with the public and meeting new people. She says she's excited for this opportunity to work with the City of Schertz. Next. You'll get your turn, don't worry. We have Isabel Womack. Isabel started her adventure with us on January 3rd. Isabel was born in California and considers herself a gypsy who grew up traveling between states. Isabel just recently married her best friend of 22 years and has 3 amazing children. Isabel enjoys her weekly family movie nights, painting with a twist, repurposing items, crafts, reading, and when the weather is right, riding her motorcycle. Isabel enjoyed her prior job before us at Randolph Air Force Base and was sad to leave, but is excited about this opportunity to grow in the department. So if you want to say something, you're more than welcome to.
Ladies, welcome to our team. Okay, next we have the fire department. No. Well, no. Oh, okay. All right, we'll move on then to city events and announcements. Mr. James.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder, we have a couple things going on this Thursday, both at 11:30, so you're going to have to pick which one you want to do. The first is the annual Trail Rider Lunch. That's at Pickerel Park, 11:30. Join us in welcoming the trail riders to Schertz on their way to on their week-long ride to the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. Or you can go to Northeast Partnership at Olympia Hills Golf and Country Golf Course and Conference Center. Again, if council wants to go to that, RSVP to Sheila. Saturday, in case you need something to do in the morning at 10 a.m., our Nature Discovery Series is back. Discover Recycling and Preserving Water. And again, that's at Crescent Bend, 10 to noon, and then we'll be back here a week from now on the 14th for the next council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. James. Announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Is that it? So just a couple of announcements. I want to highlight 2 promotions that we had in January. We had Sarah Gonzalez was promoted to Assistant City Manager. And we also had Brian James was promoted to Deputy City Manager. And I do want to throw a quick kudos out to the staff last week preparing for the ice days that we had to close down. It didn't turn out to be quite the event we thought it would be. However, the amount of preparation and work that goes into that, as well as folks coming in that did have to get through some bad weather, as well as those who work from home, we really appreciate that dedication.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. Indeed, you know, our staff does work even when our offices are closed. There is staff out there providing the services and the needs for this community. And thank you for, you know, I was in the meetings, the briefings that we were having, just preparing for the unexpected. We don't want to be caught like we did back in 2021. And thank you for the staff for making themselves available and planning for the worst. Thank you. All right, we'll move on then. We have the hearing the residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Mayor Pro Tem Brown, please call our first speaker.
That'll be Daniel Jameson.
Council, Mayor, and City Manager. My name is Daniel Jameson, 1048 Richmond Drive here in Schertz. And last meeting, we had to run out because my dad got sick. Come to find out, he had congestive heart failure. A little kudos to the EMS team. They've rushed out and took care of him, got him all back home, and he's now doing better. And keep him in prayer. And if you guys want to just, come by and visit him and say hi, please do so. It'll make his day and help him get better. And thank you.
Next is Adela Lugo.
My name is Adela Lugo. I live in Cibolo. There it is. Okay, thank you. I am always at the senior center here in Schertz, so I practically live in Schertz. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about something that happened at the center back in July, and we've been working on it, and nothing to satisfaction or improvement or anything that I can see. So I'm bringing it to you to see what, if anything, can be done. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council people, and Mr. Mayor. Elections were announced on Monday, July the 18th. And in 2022, 2 positions were opposed. As you can see on page 1, the first vice president position challenged Amelia Hamilton. The second volunteer coordinator position was challenged by Nancy Scott, Adela Lugo, and Delia Morgan. These concerns presented today are from members who keep asking me what went wrong. We feel our objections were being ignored. We and our votes are being ignored. Would you please turn to page 2? In 2022, through an anonymous tip and after the election, the center was informed that Ms. Sharon Starks was not eligible to run for office. The board and center director should have realized her name on the ballot was ineligible and the election invalid as stated in my letter. They should have recalled the 2022 election. My letter was ignored. Page 3, please. The bylaw should not have been used as the only point of consideration. Research should have been done to better understand the urgency of the pending situation, but the situation was ignored. The bylaw states in section 4, vacancies. Any vacancy occurring in the advisory board shall be filled as soon as possible. In section 3, sitting of new advisory board members states that all newly elected advisory board members shall be seated at the regular July meeting and shall be participating members thereafter. Ms. Sharon Starks was not at the board meeting of July 21st to be inducted as a newly elected board member. She had already been dismissed. Because of her absence, she never became a board member. Consequently, a vacancy never existed. The board and center director should have proceeded with the 3 nominations still on the ballot for volunteer position. Instead, the board and the center director compounded their errors and showed to introduce the vice president nominee as a volunteer coordinator. It was very ambiguous, it was too many unanswered questions, and a definite lack of transparency. The center director and the board secretary did review the minutes. They did find Ms. Stark's name on the 2016 election ballot as a nominee for volunteer coordinator. She ran and she won. She was replacing Mary Jane Brown, who had resigned her position as volunteer coordinator.
Thank you, Ms. Lugo. Your time has
that's it?
expired. Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, it wasn't finished, but I have copies if all of you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Temp, is there any other?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and Mr. Williams. My name is Kevin Majors. I live at 10320 Gage Connell, Schertz, the Reserve of Schertz subdivision. I'm coming on behalf of the residents of the Reserve of Schertz to get some guidance from the board. We have several drainage areas within our subdivision. I don't know how to describe them, but they're the ones that have, they're cutouts and they have vegetation, grass or whatever in those areas. The areas have begun to erode, and some of the residents' properties that are adjacent to the drainage areas, their properties, some of their fences are beginning to lean and fall over into these areas. I guess we're coming here to speak with you all to find out who we can get to come out and inspect these areas, possibly offer some type of solutions or ways that we can shore up these areas, or what we can do to stop further damage to the adjacent properties of the residents from this erosion process. I'd also like to take this time to thank the police chief for assisting us with the patrols, increasing patrols in the neighborhood, and also like to thank the Public Works Department for addressing the issues for the additional street lights and also street issues that we're actually having in the subdivision. Things are ongoing, and we appreciate your responses and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Major, for sharing that with us. Again, the citizens, potholes, things like that, when you see them in the streets, please let us know. It's the best time to fix them when they're small, not when they're big and a Ford F-150 can fit in them. So, but again, just if you would have that, bring it to our attention. It's best that we address it very quickly. Okay, Mr. James, will you get with Mr. Okay. Thank you. All right. I think that's the.
That's all.
That's all for the hearing of residents? Okay. We'll move on to consent agenda items. They are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Consideration or action regarding the approval of the minutes. The regular meeting of January 10th, 2023, the special council meeting of the canvassing of the vote on January 17th, 2023, the special council meeting, the city secretary interviews on January 18th, 2023, and our regular council meeting on January 24th, 2023. Item number 2, appointment and reappointments. The reappointment of Ms. Barbara Hall to the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee. And item number 3, resolution number 23R09. Consideration or action approving a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, to approve a request for expenditures not to exceed $200,000 with Far West Specialty Vehicles for the purchase and installation of emergency equipment for patrol fleet vehicles. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate discussion? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Hayward and second by Mayor Pro Tem Brown. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll move on to discussion items. Item number 4, resolution number 23R11, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, selecting Tyler Technologies ERP Pro 10 as its new financial software. Mr. James.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mr. City Manager Williams. My name is James Walters. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Schertz, and I have the pleasure of bringing this item before you tonight. Let's see, it is on. Okay, down is the way to go. So, and staff was approved for $500,000 in FY 2021-22 to replace our financial software. We have Encode 9, also called now ERP Pro 9 by Tyler Technologies. We've been with that software since 2002. We've had it for quite a long time. It became necessary to update that software, get a new one with more capabilities, better functionality, more interconnectivity, as well as better able to get into our data and get it back out to citizens in a good manner and make it easier for us to present that information. Bids were received in summer of 2022. Then we had demonstrations of products in December of 2022. There were 4 products that were reviewed: Tyler Technologies ERP Pro 10, previously called Encode 10, Tyler Tech's Muni software, Edmunds GovTech, and Oracle NetSuite for Government. ERP Pro 10, Encode 10 was selected based on the scoring and the staff's recommendation. 30% of the score was for qualifications, 35% was for proposed services, and another 35% was based on costs. So go now to the fun part, the actual contract. There is no increase in the annual support costs. It will cost us the same as the current version does now. Staff does propose to add the Content Manager module for additional $6,250 per year. That'll make the processes more efficient and make paperless one step closer to being reality. This will let us upload documents to the software, so our POs, checks, invoices will all be scanned in and accessed anywhere we have access to the software. So it'll be a huge step forward for us there. We'll also have migration services for our financial software is about $46,000. And one fun part about going from Encode 9 to Encode 10, or ERP Pro 9 to ERP Pro 10, is they're going to take all 22 years of history with us. So we will not lose anything moving to this new software. All of it will be migrated. We won't have to go, hey, what happened 5 years ago, and go to another system and try to look it up. It's all going to be transferred over as well. Now, even more fun. Staff is also proposing to move utility billing and the court modules. These were not in the original proposals. We did ask for those to provide us information on their other modules if they have them. But when reviewing the software, staff found that if we did move and also convert these 2 programs over to the new software, we'll actually save an estimated $21,000 annually in the annual fees by canceling specific Encode 9 server support services. So if we left those, utility bill and court, which are on version 9, if we left them there, we would have to keep those services online. We would remove all the data over. We won't have to use those services anymore. We then cancel those support services. So actually, by going with utility bill and court, which the proposed migration services and training will be about $47,000, that'll actually pay for itself in 2.2 years. So what does that look like overall? So including the one-time fees, we have $110,000 for training and migration. Staff has gotten quotes for about another $10,000 for additional training if needed. Not guaranteed we need to take that, but we want to make sure we have that available. So the total is $121,000. Original budget, as you remember, was $500,000, so we came in significantly under. Also, reoccurring was $21,000 savings. We did mention that Content Manager would be an extra $6,250 annually, but we'll still net about $15,000 in savings annually. So if there's any questions, happy to go over them. One thing I didn't mention, this upgrade is actually covered in the existing contract. There's actually not another contract to be awarded tonight. This is more accepting the bids and staff's recommendation to move forward with Encode 10 or ERP Pro 10.
Thank you, Mr. Walters, for sharing that with us. Okay, council, floor is open for discussion.
Always good to see you save money for the city, and having said that, I propose we make a motion to accept Resolution 23R11.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Brown, second by Councilmember Hayward. Council, any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right. We'll move on to item number 5. Resolution number 23R12, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the waiver of property tax late penalties and fees in conjunction with real property purchase and encouraging other tax entities to do the same, establishing an effective date. Okay. this one's on me, right? What I proposed was as a mayor, I proposed a letter. We were in the process of purchasing some property. It did take almost 3 years to get to this point. We are closing in about 2 weeks, somewhere around there. Yes. But you know, the situation was so complex. We had the COVID that came in. We had appraisals that needed to be done. We had you know, a lot of different obstacles, which just extended the length of time to try to get this to this point. And we are at that point in time where this individual has accumulated penalties and interest. Now, we're not waiving the actual tax. The request is not to waive the tax that is due to the city. It is the penalties and the interest that accumulated while we were in negotiations. So I brought this up to council, and I'm here to answer any questions that council may have regarding resolution number 23R12. Council, any questions?
No, Mayor, you know, based on the value of that property, and I think the opportunities that property affords the city, it's a minor write-off. And I'm quite confident proposing that we approve resolution 23R12.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Councilmember Scagliola and second by Councilmember Dalla. Council, any other comments, questions? All right, let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to workshops. We have a couple workshops. Workshop discussion on graffiti awareness, abatement, and prevention. Ms. Wood.
Oh, sorry. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Mr. Williams, he's giggling at me. We're here tonight to talk to you about graffiti abatement, awareness, and prevention. And I'm going to introduce my co-presenter here, Chief Lowry, and he's going to start off the presentation for us.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and City Manager. I'm Jim Lowry, your Chief of Police, and this evening our presentation will be on graffiti. I'm going to start off with just a little basic information on graffiti, and just so we have a firm understandings. There we go. So what is graffiti? There's the threshold for the Texas Penal Code, but essentially it's defacing property. The key issue about graffiti is you can do it with paint, indelible markings, etching, and an engraving device. The key thing I want to make a notation in the Texas Penal Code is there's a notation in there that when you do have graffiti occurring, and if it's the same actor and in the same scheme, we can use an aggregate amount to help us get to a higher level offense, which brings me to my next slide. As you look through there, the financial pecuniary loss, it's quite substantial when you start looking at it to get you to the next threshold. You start with the Class C offenses, it's less than $100. And before you even get to a felony, it's $2,500 or more. There is an exception to that. If you even look in there before I get to the exception, the first degree felony, you're talking about $300,000 to even get there. But we can use an aggregate amount when we can prove it's the same actor or it occurred in the same scheme. The exceptions would be schools, public monuments, places of worship, human burial, community center that provides medical, social, or educational. And at that time, it's a state jail felony if the offense is between $750,000 and $30,000, kicks it up to that offense immediately for us. Talk a little bit about graffiti. There's usually 4 types of graffiti. We have gang, ideological, spontaneous, and tagger. What I think you see more, well, I don't think, I know what you see more here in Schertz, it's going to be our tagger. Contrary to popular belief, taggers, not gangs, produce more graffiti, which can range from a high volume of hits to a complex street art. The other thing about taggers is they come up with a moniker and they're driven primarily by tagging that moniker as many places as they can and as possible. And the example here for shirts are going to be Mondo and Chop. And we believe Mondo has changed his moniker to Mon. So for Schertz PD, the graffiti offenses and response mitigation for us, and the reason it's so important is just on a national average, they estimate that in the U.S. there is over $12 billion worth of graffiti damage done every year, and it's a growing problem. $12 billion, not million. So from August 1st, and my numbers will be matching Lisa's, from August 1st, 2022 to February 1st, 2023, Schertz PD responded to 23 calls for service for graffiti. We had 14 offense reports. One was cleared by arrest, and that was Chop. I believe y'all received an email on that where we had an officer patrolling at nighttime, actually come across somebody in a car. He smelled like paint, had Chop on his car. And the interesting thing about that, he actually had a warrant out of New Braunfels for graffiti. This gentleman is out on the street. He's active. He's still in the city of Schertz. We're still looking for him. We're working on an additional warrant. We hope we can also get him again. That doesn't mean he will not be released all there, but we will arrest him as many times as we can. So we've cleared one by arrest, 4 that are active, 9 are inactive and suspended. So graffiti hotspots, our data, what we're showing, you're going to see Schertz Parkway, FM 78, FM 309, and then we're going to tell you also from the PD side, it's an older one, is the FM 1518 and I-10. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive by there, the old truck stop. So we're keeping an eye on that and seeing what we can do. And I believe you're also going to see Lisa's going to talk about, there's been a few hits up in the I-35 corridor. Our mitigation strategy is sharing data with neighborhood services, public works, and PD. If you look at any best practices for graffiti, that is probably the biggest thing that we can do, and an opportunity is sharing information. We have a tendency to silo that information, and we got to get away from that. And more importantly, the police department needs to stand up when we talk about leveraging technology, is using cameras when we can, and software. So our detectives are currently looking at a software that's not going to cost us anything, working with another police department, where when we get these pictures, whether it's from public works, neighborhood services, or our own officers, we can start putting them in a catalog system, or we can realize it's the same person, and we can start telling where it's going on, and we can all do some predictive modeling to help us mitigate those. I'm going to turn this over to Lisa.
Okay. So to share a little information, the city adopted a graffiti ordinance in February of 2008. And then in September of 2009, the state legislature made some changes and required municipalities and even county governments to offer free graffiti removal. And so with that, the city adopted that same. So we started seeing an uptick in graffiti in August. The first was really the I-10, 1518, the gas station there on the corner. It was our first one that we had seen in quite some time. And so we started at that point working with the city attorneys, working with our forums to try to get those ready for to move us into the allow people to request for the free graffiti removal. And then also in December of 2022, we published a new website. It's our graffiti abatement program. To get to that, you can actually go to the city website under services, neighborhood services, and then the GAP program, or our graffiti abatement program. That program actually provides, the information provides FAQs, ways to report graffiti, prevention tips. It's got the ordinance, a link to the ordinance for people to read, and then the forms that staff uses to assist with the free removal. Additionally, on that site, we have information on how they can report graffiti. So if it's not in progress, you can contact 311. They'll put the information in the system. You can call neighborhood services directly. We do proactive looking for graffiti as well. And so any reporting through the website, we also have that 311 web QA system that you can report it as well, and that gets moved over to our new software, CityView. So our code enforcement officers can go out and do investigations. since August of 2022, as I mentioned, we had seen that uptick. We have had a total of 38 cases of graffiti that we've been working, and that uptick really hit in December when we had 16 cases just alone in December. So 19 of those cases were abated by property owners. 6 have been abated by the city right now as a total of, and I think Councilwoman Whitaker asked that information. We've spent $968 right now so far. Those 4 cases there that we're in the process of abating, that's another, I believe, $1,400 in abatement that we're working on. Those were the quotes for several properties to be abated. 3 of those, one of them includes the Knights of Columbus building, includes Beck's. And then one of those cases was the CVS on 3009, and they actually did their own abatement. They wanted us to do it first. They filled out the form, but it got tagged multiple times, and they just went out and did it. Some of these businesses want to do it themselves because they want the color to match. They want it done fast, or potentially some of them have ways where their companies require them to do it in a certain period of time and match certain colors, so they have their own criteria. We do have the one case that we offered multiple times to do this for free for them, and they have not accepted our offer, and that's the property off of 1518 and I-10. And so we're in the process of the citations been issued to try to get them to court so that we can try to resolve the graffiti that's on the building. This is a map of the hotspots. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but the one that's up on the top right, where it's got most of that's Schertz Parkway. And so that's where we're seeing most of the graffiti, 78, some on 3009, a couple on I-10 and 35, but mainly here in the center portions of town. Just wanted to share with you the waiver process. I'd mentioned that we do have the waiver process. It's a really simple process. It looks like a form that, it's got a lot of information, but really they just fill their name out and they just check a box. Either they accept or refuse the service and sign it. So it's not a real detailed form that they have to fill a lot of information out. It's really an accept or deny the information. So the abatement responsibility for public and private property are a little bit different. The public property is really taken care of by the city department. So the parks, if it's done in the parks department typically does it. If it's done in facilities, we have some of vandalism and graffiti that happens at the library. That's typically done by our facilities offices. And then at Public Works and these drainage channels, they're done by Public Works. And then on private property, it's the property owner, business or tenant, or the city if they fill out the waiver and ask us to do it for them free of charge. So to talk a little bit about the process. So staff either goes out and proactively identifies the graffiti, prepares a case in our new city review software, and or we receive a complaint from someone in the community. We immediately go out and look and go out and basically make sure that it's a valid complaint. And then at that point, we've had several places where we've been able to walk in with the waiver and say, hey, would you like for us to take care of this for you? We've had quite a few people that are willing to sign it right on the spot, the county for one. We've had several of them that are willing to do that. Now, there are some people who aren't able to do that. Maybe they don't run the business. Maybe they're not the manager. Maybe they're not the property owner. They don't have the authority to be able to sign it, but they do have 10 days to actually get back with us. That's basically what our code says. So they have the ability to do that. And then at the same time when we're in there, we encourage everybody to file a police report. There are some people who don't want to file a police report. They just don't really want to do that, but we really encourage them to do that. Once we have the signed waiver from them, we start preparing for the removal. We currently have 3 contractors in place, and so we work on doing that abatement at no cost to the property owner. If we don't receive a response from the property owner within that 10 days, we typically prompt them again. Hey, you guys haven't filled out this form. We can do this service for you at no charge. If we can get you to sign the form, we're happy to work on that. And if we have to, we proceed to citation. But we have 38 cases, and we've been working really hard to try to get people to abate or for us to abate for them. And I feel like we've been fairly successful since we've only really had 1 citation that we've had to issue. As I mentioned before, in many cases, property owners want to do it themselves. A QT wants to do it themselves. They want to match their own paint. They want to do those things where it's to their corporate requirements. And then if it's on, as I mentioned, if it's on city properties, then we're going to take care of it, the department that it is associated with. Those abatements on public property, typically, generally, if they're in the parks, are done the same day. So they abate theirs very quickly. In public works, it can take a couple of days to a week, depending on the size and scale. And we get a little bit later in the presentation, I'll show you a few that are actually, that were on some of our drainage channels. And so sometimes they're pretty big and they are pretty detailed, some good artists. The abatement time frame for private property is real variable. So those ranges could be from a few days to a few months. So if somebody wants to abate it themselves, there are some places, some businesses that can't even open the doors unless they have abated their graffiti. It's their policies. And so, those get taken care of immediately. But it kind of, as I mentioned before, they have 10 days to sign the form. So if they don't take care of it in the 10 days, get the form signed, we usually try to prompt them again. So typically, I would say it runs about a month if the property owner hasn't signed the form. If the city's doing the abatement, our goal, we have 3 contractors in place now. Our goal is to do that within the 10-day time period, just depending on the contractor availability and the weather, because here lately we've had some cold, kind of damp weather, and it's been difficult for them to get out to do some of the abatements. Hard to see, but on one side, this is the Murphy's. There is graffiti on the left. It's actually in yellow. It's difficult to see. And then not in person it wasn't, but on the picture it's pretty difficult to see. And then on the right, it's been abated. That abatement was $315, and they went out and sand blasted that. So right now we have 3 different types of contractors, and we're working on getting more. One that sandblasts, one that steams, and one that paints. And depending on the type of material it is, we're trying to use funds the most reasonable way we can. And so here is the post office. This abatement was $85. The post office was very happy with the paint, even though it seems to be a little bit different color. They were comfortable with how it was painted. This one's in progress. Actually, it got abated on Sunday, I believe. They were having trouble because of the weather. The cost is estimated at $800 only because they had to go back out again and redo one of the sections on the front. But that kind of gives you the idea of the size and scale of how much some of the cost is on the graffiti. Now, these are actually from one of our drainage channels, the one right up here at Schertz Parkway and Buffalo Lane. Those were there. Those were 3 that were there. It's not the only ones that are there because we've had one week where they got tagged like 3 days in a row. So they'd go clean them and they'd get tagged again and clean them and tagged again. And then just kind of size and scale, kind of wanted to give y'all an idea of just how much things cost. So this is actually a trailer. It's something that has to be abated by our code, abated by the property owner because it's on one of those 18-wheeler trailers. But you can see how detailed, a little bit more detailed maybe the graffiti may be. And so something like that to be sandblasted off, we got a price of $1,080. And then if it was painted, it was $350. So additionally, some of the dumpsters and just areas of utilities, those things we've been working with the utility provider. We've recently worked with Republic to try to match paint so that we're able to help them a little bit better. When it first started, they were actually removing the dumpster and putting a new one out, and then when it get tagged, and then it went back and forth. And so now we've worked on getting blue paint and brown paint to try to get somebody to do it in a little bit quicker time frame. I think the only problems that we do have at times is, they have their logos, and if they tag over the logo, it makes it a little bit more difficult to paint, but we can paint around that. The same with the utility boxes. We are working with the utility companies to try to match their paint so that we can go out and kind of just get those taken care of instead of asking them to come out and do it. So this is kind of a shared with Chief. We've been talking about collaboration and communication. Neighborhood Services and PD have been meeting for probably about a year now just to try to collaborate regularly on things that kind of overlap with enforcement. We included Public Works. We probably should have included Parks as well because we do collaborate with them on these kind of issues. Because we have started with our new City View software asking Parks and the library if they would put them in the system, we can better keep track of all the photos and the cases and how much of it is private property and how much of it is our property that we're having to clean up. And so in the past, y'all recently saw we asked for additional funds for abatement of graffiti. The responsibility, even though we had an ordinance, we had always made the responsibility be on the property owner and didn't have any budget for that. But at the present, we have really worked hard on getting a program together. It doesn't, I feel like the website, we can continue to build on that website and provide more information. But we did establish that. We do have a budget that council graciously approved, so we do have $10,000, but you can see the cost of removing some of this graffiti, that $10,000 will be eaten up fairly quickly. We do have 3 contractors and working on getting more. We have dedicated that work to the website, and we have public affairs assisting with that, hoping to maybe get out some, we were looking to try to get out some social media like videos maybe to help, but not publicize our graffiti, but you know what I mean, just the abatement part of it. I think there was, some of the removal happening that they were looking at putting out there. And then everything being documented in City View, which really helps us. We're able to run reports and determine how many cases that we have, and then where our money's being spent on that. We're always encouraging property owners to report this to the police. Please make a police report. I think that helps both us and PD, because sometimes they'll report to PD and not to neighborhood services.
So as we talk about mitigation action plan, the first one is prosecution and restitution. The slide you saw earlier on the post office, they refused to file a report. We've asked them, encouraged them to do it. They just don't file a report. We want to encourage all our citizens to file a report, whether we have a lead on it or not. It's good for us. We need the data that helps us. We never know if we might have a case 6 months later, but we need to get that into our database. I also want to explore working with legal and the council. I think we should start looking at restitution. And when we do have somebody such as CHOP, we have all these cases, we should start going after them for restitution. And that money maybe earmarked back to our graffiti account. Centralized data collection, I think these are what I would call free. We already have some technology that would help us. Hotspot mapping, cold spot mapping, why doesn't it occur in one place, but why does it occur in another? And then linking the cases for our software for the same act or the type, and again, in the aggregate amount for our financial loss. I think is substantial, and we have to work with our DAs and prosecution to make sure that we can give them a case that's wrapped up. They clearly know that they're all the same actor, and then we can get them for a higher offense instead of misdemeanors. We get them to the felony grade offenses. Lisa, I believe you have the next one.
And the last night is not intended for you to read. It was really just to yeah. Everybody get out your magnifying glass. Was really just intended to show you that that our code of ordinance does have future actions in place. We have satisfied at least 3. We've been working on 4. We do have some graffiti removal kits in our tool shed that were donated as part of the grant that we have issued out. We are currently working on a paint bank so that if people want to do it, we have paint available, which was kind of nice. We worked with one of our contractors to help purchase paint for like the dumpsters so that they can always use the same colors and we have them available for them. There were 8 things on there that basically was, hey, you guys can work on getting these things done, and we've started that. We're probably 50% away through. One of them does include a rewards program for for violations of graffiti. So Chief and I are available for questions.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, Councilmember Whitaker.
Thank you very much. That was excellent presentation, and I really appreciate it. I think one of the most important things is just the awareness. I think one of the things when you drive around an area, if you see paint, it just makes you feel yucky, you're like, something's happening in this community, whether it's yours or you're just driving through. I think it just creates a bad feeling, even if it's, you're talking about it's not gangs, but the perception is bad things are happening. So I appreciate the fact that you guys have done this whole presentation so that the residents understand you guys are aware of it. Because I think that's the other problem is you just see it there and you're like, oh, I guess this is where we are now and we're just stuck with it. So I'm just glad that it's out there, that everyone understands you guys are working on it. And great for property owners to understand that there's an opportunity for them. They don't have to take care of it on their own. There's assistance for that. So, Chief, it sounds like in order for us to get a dollar amount associated with a particular person who's doing something, we have to have those police reports. Is that correct? Like we can't attribute damage if that isn't in an actual police report, or can you associate damage done if you know of it?
For us to take action, we're going to have an offense report.
Okay.
We're going to have a victim that's willing to prosecute.
Okay, so that, I think that's going to be really important to, hopefully businesses will step up and, I mean, is it time intensive? Is it we just want to move on? What is their concern, do you think?
I don't have an answer. I can only give you what I believe. Some of them just don't want to deal with it. They don't think nothing will occur. But we would encourage you to do that. And again, the numbers we have here, how many offenses have we had where the business owner or the property owner took care of it themselves and never said a word about it?
Right.
So we have quite a bit out there.
Okay.
I do believe, again, that it's our taggers more than anything, and then you'll have your opportunists that get out there, which is probably right out here as an example of that on Schertz Parkway also.
Okay. And then, so for the one individual that you did you arrest the CHOP fellow?
He was arrested in the act.
Okay, and so then but you said he's out there again, so he's arrested. What level was he at when he was arrested?
So his charge was for a misdemeanor, county charge. And he had the warrant also from New Braunfels. So we arrested him that night. He had the criminal tools with him. He had his paint. Even, like I said, he had it, he smelled like fresh paint. Good PC, great work by the officer. So he's been released, which is his constitutional right. He posted his bond and he's out on that. We were able to get another offense, somebody that was willing to prosecute, and now the detectives are working on that. And we have, if we don't have the warrant signed this week, it'll be by next week.
Okay. What level do you think?
They're all
potentially-
misdemeanors right now
Okay.
because they're all under the financial amount.
That's surprising. I mean, I actually thought it'd be more damage, more expense for the damage. It just feels really bad. Thank you so much.
And I agree with you 100%. I think it's important especially for the police department. It does distract from the city when people see the graffiti. It takes away like what's going on. And so it really rises to the top for us. It's a sense of urgency. It does need to be addressed.
I mean, and I even think that I know probably this is not criminal law, I don't know, but there's this sense of violation. I wish that could be like not monetized. Would you put a value on that? You know, what you feel as a property owner when someone does that to you, violated, and but I suppose we can only attribute money according to the cost to repair.
It's got to be your actual financial loss or
Okay.
inconvenience. So, for an example, somebody eggs a house, toilet paper. There's no permanent damage, but what was their inconvenience? You can put a dollar amount on that. And then we actually have to have that documentation to file the charges.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Again, thank you so much. Excellent presentation. I really appreciate it. And I hope the residents will understand you guys are working on it, but we need their help to be aware, be on the lookout, be eyes and ears, and report things and file those reports. Thank you.
Councilmember Hayward.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say kudos to you guys for that. I happened to be at the county building when Lisa came in and talked to them about their situation and had the form in hand. And the judge said, let me call the DA, call the judge. The justice of the peace called the judge. And they said, absolutely, go for it. They signed the document, and Lisa walked out with it in hand. And she was very informative, giving them the information and what the city was doing with the graffiti and how the city could help. And so I just want to say kudos to you guys for actively going out, talking to people, and getting them with the documentation in hand to get it done right away. And they were just so happy that it was going to be not at their cost, I guess, but at the city's cost. But they were just elated that the city was even out doing that. So I just want to say kudos to you guys for doing that. And then for the police department, for you guys having the collaboration to get the job done. I just think it's amazing, you know, and I know that taggers are out there, that's what they love to do. And it's not about, it's just them seeing their name in paint. And sometimes I look at them and go, how did they get their name way up there? But I guess they have a way, but I just wanted to give y'all kudos. I don't have a question. I think you're doing a great job, and keep going.
Councilmember Dollar.
Just kind of agree with Councilwoman Hayward on that. You know, y'all doing a good job on that. It's kind of unfortunate that this has become such an issue so quickly for us, but it's, I guess, the nature of the beast. And, you know, the one thing in my line of work that I've learned is when you have it, the sooner you get rid of it and cover it up, the less likely it is for it to come back again and again. So if you get rid of it within a couple of days, they know that the time and effort they put into it's not going to be for any benefit. So good job on that. Just one question, just kind of curious if you have any theory as to why we have a predominance of the tagging events on Schertz Parkway and not on a higher visibility corridor like I-35 or I-10.
I think what you will find, statistically speaking, most taggers do it at nighttime between 11 at night and 4 in the morning, and they do it close to their residence. Many times they're on foot. However, Chop disproved that. He was actually in a car.
Council Winnie. Yes, Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, Chief, I just want to say thank you so very much. It doesn't seem like a very important topic, but when you're talking about what other people, the impression they make when they come into a city and they see you know, graffiti and taglines all over the place, it really does diminish the community. And I understand it must be real frustrating to actually catch somebody in the act, take them into custody, and then it's like a revolving door. You know, the individuals back out on the streets understand understand how frustrating that can be. But please keep in mind that what you're doing is important. It doesn't seem like it's all that big a deal, but I think it is vitally important because it's the first step in keeping our community safe and what our residents expect it to be. So this city council is behind you, and thank you so much, Lisa, also. City council is behind you. I know that for a fact. And I'm pretty sure the residents are out there rooting for you as well. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? I have a couple of questions. No, you indicated that we cannot prosecute unless we have a police report. But are the damages based on just one police report or the total damage that he has done or the abatement that we did? How is that?
Amount and you think you can get it to a higher level, unless you have a victim that's willing to prosecute, we're not allowed to put that as an aggregate amount. So technically, by law, if somebody cuts somebody's tire and they just file a report, even if they know who did it and they sign, I don't want to prosecute, we're going to close that case. We're going to suspend it. We can't file charges. You have to have a victim and you have to have a suspect, and then you have to have the victim willing to prosecute.
So each abatement will have a victim, am I correct?
But it's not an offense report unless they actually file the offense report with the police department.
But then we're not taking corrective action. If we're using city funds to abate damages, why aren't we asking them to submit a victims report so that we can prosecute? Because we're not, you know, we can have all these victims, but if no one puts in a report, no one gets, there's no charges.
Why can't the city be considered a victim? If we have an ordinance that says, that prohibits graffiti, and the state has put us in a position where we've got to abate it, or offer to abate it, in a case where we incur the costs, so like the Knights of Columbus, they get tagged on 3 or 4 pieces of their property, and they take us up under the requirements of state law that we have to abate that graffiti. Does that not, in fact, make the city a victim to file a complaint due to the fact that we're incurring a cost. I mean, we're not the property owner, we're not the tenant, but as the civil entity in the community and under state law, we've got a requirement to abate that. Why would that not make us a victim because we're incurring a cost?
So I'm going to give you my answer, and we're going to have to double check with legal. I don't believe that part of the abatement is that you can't force them to file the charges, but that's, the other part of that is the restitution is another angle for us to achieve to see if we can get money back. For restitution, you don't necessarily have to have criminal, you can also have civil.
Sounds good to you, right, Dan?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's two different, there's several statutes at work here, and the one that your ordinance was adopted under is in the local government code, and that's what the chief's citing when he says that, you know, before you can require them to abate it, you have to offer to do so, versus the criminal situation where you're filing the charges and getting that restitution ordered. I don't have the local government code provision pulled up to see if it has any provisions with it regarding civil damages, but that would be a separate proceeding entirely if you're going to pursue that. It's possible, but it would be civil in nature unless there's a police report. Because and even then, even if you, and the chief can chime in on this, you know, one of the complications is unless you see that person, you know, actually you catch them in the act, even if it's the same tag, a prosecutor's going to have a hard time proving that somebody else isn't, that it's not someone else doing that. I mean, you can, it's not enough evidence at that point, so it's a challenge, for sure.
Thank you for sharing that with us. But council, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next one. Item number 7, the Schertz Area Senior Center Operations Review and Workshop Discussion. Ms. Schrum?
Okay. So at a council meeting about a month ago, we had some concerns from some senior center members, and council asked me to come back with a general review of the operations there. You also have some attachments in your packet, the contract that we have, the bylaws of the Senior Center Advisory Board, and code of conducts. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Senior Center in general, and then go through a little history, and then we'll talk about some details of the contract and breakdown of the responsibilities. So the Schertz Area Senior Center operates Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4, Friday, 9 to 5. Membership is open to anyone ages 50 and up, residing in the surrounding community. When I say that, a lot of people go, oh, great, I could be a member. We did that because the AARP guideline is 50, and so we went ahead and did that when we started the Senior Center. We had 399 members in 2015. That was some data I had when the YMCA first took over the facility. And pre-COVID, we were at our peak, 1,756 members. We are currently at 736 at this time. Membership fees, they're $36 annually per individual and $62 annually per couple. And like I said, currently the management and operations contract is with the YMCA. The effective date was December 1st, 2020, and it expires September 30th of 2025. So just some history for those who haven't been here on council and don't know. The Senior Center concept was established in May of 2010. We had a partnership with the Comal County Senior Citizens Foundation. They started serving lunch out of the community center right next door. The current library was being built, and the plan was to move into the old library, which is what the Senior Center is now, that building. So in 2010 of November, they had a soft opening over there, and then they had their official grand opening March 4th, 2011. At that time, the operations and the meals were provided by the Comal County Senior Citizens Foundation, and we had our first director of the Senior Center from that foundation. So I'm sharing this history with you to show that we've had many iterations of management operations at the center, as well as different contracts to provide services over the years. So there was some disagreements between staff of the Comal County Senior Center Foundation and some of the members of the center. those conflicts couldn't be resolved. The city ended up canceling the contract at that time, and in 2013, city park staff were pulled in to take over operations. So that was, my predecessor, Chuck, if you remember Chuck, Parks manager was just pulled in, and Sandy, the administrative assistant, was pulled in to help. And so that was our director number 2 at the center. And then at that time, Como County was no longer providing the meals because the contract was canceled. And so the staff worked to coordinate lunches from area restaurants. And they provided and delivered meals from different restaurants in the community. At that time, seniors had to pay. It was $4 per meal at that time. In 2015, we went out for an RFP to operate the center, and the YMCA was awarded the operations and management contract. Then we had our director number 3 at the center. So we've had a lot of different people in charge over there over the years. Then the city worked to get a arrangement with Community Council of Southwest Central Texas. A lot of acronyms here, sorry. They were able to provide meals at that time under an ACOG grant that they had, so it was free to our members for a certain amount of months. That was short-lived, however. They ran out of grant funding, and the city started picking up the tab. In 2017, city funded an $850,000 renovation of that senior center. We encompassed the adjacent WellMed building. They built their new facility over here on Schertz Parkway, so they vacated that space. We renovated it, made it all in one facility, added accessible restrooms, and 1,500 square feet of space that was being used by WellMed. We were able to bring into the center and really expand our programming at that time. And again, we didn't have accessible restrooms up until this point. So while we were doing that renovation, we moved the center temporarily to Pascal Elementary, if you remember that, the summer of 2017. So that was a big change for the seniors, but it worked out, and then we moved back. Again, we needed some meals, so we went out for an RFP contract. In 2018, we awarded that to Celrico Services. In 2019, city staff worked with ACOG, and we became a nutrition program contractor. So we're now receiving some federal reimbursement for the meals that we're providing. In 2020, of course, we had our pandemic closure. We worked with the YMCA staff to do some drive-through meals for lunch, some outdoor programming. We had a parking lot bingo, if you remember that, some sunrise stretch in the parking lot, still try to continue programming. We did the parking lot renovation during that closure. At that time, the city funded that and added 28 parking spaces, which was a big deal for the seniors. So we have a lot more spaces where people can park close. And then at that time, the contract had expired, so we went out for RFP again, and the YMCA was awarded a second contract for operations and management. And then we had a new director. The previous one left, so we had director number 4 at that time. In 2022, we had the previous director leave. We've got another director, and then we went out for another RFP. Celrico Services was awarded that contract for the meals, which brings us to today, 2023. So with the current contract, the breakdown of responsibilities, if you're not familiar, is the day-to-day operations of the center is run by the YMCA. So membership sign-ups, collecting the nutrition intake forms we have to do for the program, submitting work orders to the city for maintenance, resolve member conflicts, advisory board support, managing that advisory board program, and setting up the meetings and things like that. They also do all the programming and provide the program supplies. So the programming there, for those who aren't familiar, a myriad of fitness classes, bingo, gardening club, card games, tech help, arts and crafts, chair volleyball, choir group, quilting, the list goes on and on. And then the YMCA provides janitorial and light maintenance. So the city of Schertz's responsibility for the center is to provide the membership software and retain the fee revenue. We made that change with the new RFP because I had presented here, I think, in December of 2019, and that was the direction council had given us to retain those fees going forward. So we do retain the fee revenue. The nutrition program tracking our staff does for ACOG for compliance because we are the provider. And then the maintenance of the facility, the landscaping, the utilities, and then, of course, the contract oversight. So here's the breakdown of the senior center financials. So revenues, these were actuals for FY 21-22, and again, we're still sort of rebounding from COVID. So our membership fees were about $23,000. The ACOG reimbursement we received actually from ACOG was $27,000. Donations about $4,000. Rentals about $4,200, And that was only half the year. We have one church that meets in there, and they didn't start meeting until halfway through the year, so it'll be double that now. And expenses, the management fee that we pay to the YMCA is $160,236. And then, again, the maintenance and utilities that we pay there, we estimate about $12,000 per year. And then the nutrition program is budgeted about $109,000. Obviously, that varies depending on how many meals we order and serve, and it's up and down over the months. So contract reporting requirements. Within the contract, we do require these requirements from the YMCA. So they provide us quarterly financial reports, and I review those with the executive director. The director of the senior center also does monthly director reports, and he or she gives these typically at the advisory board meeting, and city staff member is present, and so they're fulfilling that requirement by providing the report at that meeting. They also do an annual report to the advisory board, and it's basically just a culmination of everything they've been doing every month. We did change our bylaws, and the advisory board did, and the meeting dates to every other month, so we're actually doing this 6 times a year instead of 12, but this is what the contract originally stated. So they're just reporting on 2 months instead of 1 at a time. And then the contract does say that we need to do an annual membership survey to gauge feedback from the members. We actually haven't done a survey that I'm aware of in 7 years that I've been here. So this is definitely something that we're going to have the YMCA start doing to get some formalized feedback. We did have a roundtable type meeting that the YMCA held every month to gain some feedback in a more relaxed setting versus the board meeting, which tends to be a little bit more formal. And so they were kind of gauging and getting feedback that way. But we think it's a great idea to do the membership survey going forward, and we will be doing that. So what procedures does the senior center operate under? So there is a YMCA code of conduct that the entire YMCA uses and operates under. And then there is also a Schertz area senior center code of conduct that the board worked through in about 2019. We looked at a bunch of code of conducts from various senior centers, and they highlighted things that they liked, and they came together and voted on a code of conduct that they wanted to utilize for the center and abide by. And so it does not supersede the Y conduct. It's basically the same, but goes into a little bit more detail even than the Y conduct does. They also operate under some kitchen procedures documents that they have, some front desk procedures. We also have volunteer background checks at the center. There is a volunteer policy that the Y is working on right now, and the expectations of volunteers that they don't have finalized yet, but that's something that we're working on. And then the Senior Center Advisory Board bylaws, which were in your packet. It basically says that the advisory board will act as a liaison between the members of the senior center and the city staff about the operations programs and general feedback. So you've heard some concerns, like I said, from some seniors previously. You heard some more tonight. I've been aware of all of these. We've had many discussions about it with the YMCA staff. Moving forward, the Y staff is really committed to winning hearts and minds. I think they understand the concerns and have really worked with city staff to find a way forward on some of these issues. We've asked them to really utilize the advisory board to gain feedback on policies and procedures, as well as behavior expectations of board members. It makes sense for those to work hand in hand, and that's what the expectation is going forward. Also, staff has asked them for an enhanced commitment to member concerns and member complaints and resolving those concerns and complaints. I've discussed with staff about level of service and maintaining that service in terms of like programming and getting back to the pre-COVID levels. We're well on our way past the pandemic, and we want to make sure that everything that we had at our high point we're getting now going forward. So we're doing a program audit, just kind of checking to see what we used to do and are we still doing it now and continuing. And like I told the Y staff, it's not that we have to do the same thing forever. If we are taking something away, we just need to replace it with something new or different. We're working on fine-tuning the policies and procedures. The Y staff is really taking a look at all those because of the staff turnover, the different contracts. You know, I think paperwork has been missing, and everybody has a different style, and we're just working through all those policies and procedures and making sure we're all on the same page going forward of how we want the operations to be run. And then they're committed to a measured approach to sanctions per the Code of Conduct. Again, it lists there in the YMCA Code of Conduct, I'm sorry, the Schertz Senior Center Code of Conduct, what the steps are when we're talking about potentially removing a member from the senior center. And there has to be, you know, a verbal warning, a written warning. There has to be things in place before we go take that step. And we want to do this, you know, very rarely, because obviously the point of the senior center is to engage the aging population, provide those services, avoid isolation, which is, you know, one of their risk factors. And we want to keep those people there as often as we can. Obviously, there's a few things that we've had that we cannot allow to continue, and we've had to do that. But I think we've done it 2 times that I can recall in the 7 years. So that's the presentation I have, and I'm available for questions. I also have the Executive Director, Josh Sandoval, here from the Y if you want to ask him a specific question.
All right, thank you for sharing that with us. All right, council, questions? Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Lauren.
Yes.
Can you go back to slide 6?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you know, the reason why I asked for this presentation, it seems like we have a significant disconnect between the city staff, the contractor, and the advisory board. I've gotten several calls regarding what seems to be never-ending issues with the senior center. So when we look at the breakdown of responsibilities up here, you know, we've got responsibilities for the city of Schertz. We've got responsibilities for the contractor. We really don't talk about the responsibilities of the advisory board. I'm not quite sure I understand who's supposed to be running the overall theme for the senior center. When I look at the advisory board structure in here, and it talks about the composition and their duties, you know, it's got things like a kitchen representative shall be in charge of the kitchen for inventory, serving, code compliance, and like that. So it seems like the bylaws for the advisory board says that's a member that's elected by the seniors that use it, not something that's directed by the city or the contractor. The activity coordinator coordinates the activities from the members and I would guess relates them to the contractor who is supposed to provide various programs and activities. The volunteer coordinator representative shall coordinate all volunteers at the senior center to include front desk, kitchen cleanup, RSVPs. So in our bylaws, it says that the seniors that are using the facility are taking the lead on this according to their bylaws, but it seems as though we've got a blending of these responsibilities that's causing some confusion going down there. I am kind of surprised to hear that we said we're going to do a satisfaction survey and we haven't done one in 7 years. That's, again, that's another example of contract that are not being followed, which is not a favorite area of mine. So, you know, again, I guess my question is what is the vision going forward? Is the senior center a recreational activity that the recreation staff is providing to a certain population of the residents, just like they do a skate park for young skaters or a dog park for pet owners? Is it something we're handing off to the YMCA for the YMCA to implement their vision and their program exclusively? Or is it an area where residents have a say in what they do and what kind of programs they have? So, I mean, there seems to be a confusion on that. Again, you know, even under their policies, it says, recommendations from the advisory board will be utilized in the formulating of the policies of the Schertz Area Senior Center. These policies shall be maintained in a policy manual to be reviewed annually and revised as necessary. Do we have a policy manual for the senior center?
We have various policies, not in one manual. We have them separate, like I mentioned, the kitchen procedures, all those kind of things. So, yes, I would agree. The Schertz Area Senior Center Advisory Board was created when the city staff were running it back in 2013. And I think the vision was to have, yes, some feedback to be able to guide the direction of the center. Because at that time, the staff that were running it were parks manager who didn't have a recreation background and our administrative assistant. So there was a real struggle as to what do we do with this thing? And so that's why it was created, to gain the feedback into what programs we should create. When the contract was awarded to the YMCA, they brought forth, yes, their brand and a whole host of health and fitness programming that we didn't have prior. When I did the presentation in 2019, I think it showed that, we mostly were doing table games, card games, and things like that. And at that point, we were 44% health and fitness programs that they had brought to the table. So it was a big gain to have that health and fitness because the prior staff didn't have the experience. Yes, currently now, our vision for our department going forward is adding more recreational opportunities, recreation coordinator, things like that. We're much better positioned to run a facility like this than we were in the past. And so I think we created these contracts with the YMCA to fill that gap and that need for the city.
No, I understand that. And this, to me, it's not an issue of whether the city's running this or whether it's the Y. The Y puts on great programs, there's no doubt about that. The question is, to what degree do the users of the center, from my perspective, it's what degree do they have an input in what they want the center to be?
They have a lot of input, and they should have a lot of input. Hence the point that the director should work hand in hand with the advisory board. Yes, there are volunteer coordinator positions. They want to be engaged. They want to create new committees, culture committee, for example. It's the center director's job to work hand in hand with that advisory board to gain insight and to bring the policies forward and say, what do we think about this? Or some policies have been brought up from the board. When I mentioned the Senior Center Code of Conduct in 2019, we had misbehavior. We had some bullying, we had some other things going on, and they realized we didn't have a great mechanism to deal with it. So that came from within, that came from the board saying, we need to do something about this, we need to adopt a code of conduct, and they started that project, and we support them as city staff and as Senior Center director from the YMCA staff. Again, we've worked hand in hand this whole time. Recently, I think with the change in staff, we've got some new people who have just, maybe not fully understand the relationship with the city or have worked for a facility that was owned by the city before, and we're just working through those challenges. I think we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of months about the role of the city, and the oversight, and then how the board should be used. It's a program of the center, and they have a lot of input into how it's run, but at the same time, we do have a director, and the Y has brought a lot of good things to the program. So I think it's a balance.
Okay, I'm good.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, I go back with the senior center back when they were the hot meals program in the community center, and I pushed very hard to get the senior center up and running where it is now. There've been a lot of growing pains. I love the YMCA stepped up to the plate, took over management of it. I kind of envisioned the day though when that wouldn't be required anymore. When the seniors themselves could manage the senior center, perhaps with a little assistance from the city, but by and large, autonomous. Let them run it the way they deem necessary. That's my ultimate goal, or my vision at least. I don't know if that's possible right now. So I'm happy that we have the YMCA to provide that type of oversight. And the other thing, I absolutely love the opportunities that the seniors have for exercise and for just all the things that are available that the YMCA can provide them. So I'm wondering though, because I've heard through the grapevines also that there's little discourse and sometimes when you hear something once, it's that's just that type of person, or twice that maybe 2 people, 3 people. But it gets to the point where something seems to be systemic, And what I'd like to see is, yeah, we have an advisory board over at the senior center. How about, I don't know how they conduct their meetings. I've never attended one of their meetings. But you know what? Transparency means a lot. And if they actually had the meeting, the committee meeting, in an open session like this, where people could actually come and express their views, I think you do. Okay.
Absolutely. Mhm.
What's the general reception when that happens?
I mean, it's good. Again, we've had a lot of recommendations from members over the years that we've implemented. I mean, you know, the things that they voted on doing, raising some funds for the garden addition that we did, you know, the pergola and adding the planting beds, and they're working on actually another addition to that. So, I mean, we've always worked hand in hand with the advisory board to get their feedback, and general members are always invited. In fact, the board has always, over the years, worked to try to get more people in. So we even started doing board meetings out in the main lunchroom after lunch to try to get people to just listen in. But then the Dominoes were drowning us out, and they didn't want to listen, so we moved back into the side room. But yes, it varies, it comes and goes. We have meetings that's packed house, we have meetings where it's just the board, so.
Okay. I'm glad it seems to me like you're moving in the right direction, trying to be open and transparent and addressing the needs of the people, of the seniors. Once again, though, going back to Councilmember Davis's comment, you know, who's actually steering the ship? You know, who's really in control? Is this, as a city or the YMCA mandated that this is what's going to happen, and whether you like it or not, this is the directions we're going, and that vision is forced on the folks? Or do the seniors actually have to say in their own destiny? I think that's the primary thing. And I'm thinking maybe if we did the satisfaction survey, got that out, we could get a better picture of that. I don't want necessarily the city council to get involved in this, because the city council only has one way of fixing things. Break out the sledgehammer. Let's knock it down, tear it apart, and let staff clean up the mess. I'm not a critical person, but I am rather pragmatic, okay? I know how these things work. I've been here a while. So anyway, I imagine you have plans for going forward. I just hope you address some of my concerns.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned, yes, we want the board to be involved in the direction of the center and have input into what programs are offered and things like that. But it is good to always have that paid professional staff member who, you know, understands what are the laws, what are the sanitation requirements for the kitchen, you know, what do we have to do for compliance with the ACOG nutrition program, what's the best new fitness craze. You know, that's why it's good to have paid professionals running the senior and having that advisory board as a added enhancement to the paid staff, in my perspective.
Councilmember Dalla.
Good. Can you go back to the last slide on that presentation?
Yes, sir.
So, you know, you mentioned about the surveys. The other thing that you mentioned on there with the fine-tuning the policies and procedures, you know, we're 7 years into a contract with the Y. I would think that there's not a lot of fine-tuning left to do, but it seems like there is from what we've been hearing. You know, the senior center is there for the seniors, and the money that the city spends on that is well spent, in my opinion. You know, the senior community needs that support, and they've earned that support by supporting the city during their entire working lives and supporting the community, and we need to support them. But it seems like we've just kind of gone along, and we've changed and evolved so much over the years that I think we've got some gaps here. And you know, from my part, you know, again, like Councilman Scagliola says, you know, I don't think City Council needs to be totally involved with it, but I think there needs to be some serious discussions between the city, between the Y and the advisory board, and clarify the nature of the relationships. And from my part as a council member, I would like for us to be kept abreast of it and at a minimum, come back to us on a quarterly basis for the next couple quarters and give us an update on what's going on and how we're fixing the problems that are coming up to the surface right now.
I can do that.
Councilmember Hayward.
I've been to some of those meetings, pre-COVID. I remember attending one when it was out and, you couldn't hear each other. And then when they moved it back in. So I did attend some of those in the beginning when I was first on council and pre-COVID. I haven't been to any since. But I'm looking at when you say the advisory board was put in place and they had a more active role. So I'm wondering if it's sitting with the advisory board, looking at where, the disconnect and finding out, like, this is what the advisory board needs to do. This is what the Y is doing. This is how we need to work together. Because I know that a lot of times now that we're post-COVID, things that were happening pre-COVID aren't the same, and then you got to retool and change the process and the way things are going. The other thing is I know that when you're constantly changing directors, that poses a problem because what one director did, the next director comes in and goes, hey, well, that's not how this works. And the more you change people and those people that have changed, and I've known the last three of the directors, and you had one that was a little bit older, and then one was really young, and and so I think sometimes they read things, and when they read things, it's interpreted one way or the other. And I think now we have the disconnect because what one director allowed, another one won't allow because they've read the rules of conduct and say, hey, this isn't going to work. You can't do this. But because they were under another director, they thought it was good. So I think possibly having what I always find is maybe sitting down with them and going through the whole policy, if they haven't already, to say, hey, here's what we're allowing, here's what's not allowed, here's what we want you, as the advisory board, these are your your roles, and we'll continue to meet with you and work on things. And I think build the connection back. And I think a lot of it is probably post-COVID or during COVID, things changed, and now we're trying to come out of it, and some things makes it difficult, but, and I don't want to be involved. I just sat in on the meetings because I just wanted to see when I did what was going on, and I popped in. And I used to go over and do bingo all the time and talk with some of the senior citizens, and I'll probably start trying to do that again just to get a feel, but not get hands-on involved with it. But just seeing if we can't get that connection going and the sit-down going and going through, because I know that different organizations I've been with, it's like, okay, pull out the bylaws and let's go over them. Now, where do you see the problem? And then just kind of, and these are with adults, and they don't, and when you try to explain the rules, sometimes they go, well, that's not how I looked at it. Well, this is what we interpret it to be. So I think going forward, maybe that might be a way to reconnect. And I think the Y does a pretty good job with the programs that they put on. I mean, when you look at the calendar, I was at a meeting this morning, and one of the representatives from Henry Quayle, I was like, yeah, I saw the calendar. It's a lot of stuff that your senior center put on for the seniors. So I think all in all it is, we just got to reconnect and make sure that they have a voice when they reconnect.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, there has been a lot of change, like you said, with the different directors coming in. And in terms of fine-tuning policies and procedures, we have had the same YMCA contract. We've had different staff members. We've changed the membership software on them. We change and fine-tune those procedures based on all the changes that have occurred. New requirements from ACOG. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. Yeah. Councilmember Whitaker. I was just recognizing the next council member, so please don't let me interrupt
Thank you again for the presentation. I just wanted to echo what you said. Let me just say this. My mother thought, when I decided to get a degree in recreation and leisure administration years ago, she said, is that a degree in basket weaving? And I'm like, no, Mom, it's like very serious. I mean, but it's a whole career field, and it's there's a lot to it, and I think you identified the value in having a contract, and not, if we've decided as a city, if the city staff has decided that contracting it out is the smartest way to go, I think sometimes that is the best way to go. I don't want to take on more responsibility on the staff. I think an entity that's their sole purpose has the ability to do it well, whether or not they're abiding by the contract. I mean, that's a whole separate thing. But I appreciate the way it's laid out at this point and the relationship there. And I do agree with Councilwoman Hayward as far as sometimes understanding what your role is important in just resolving some disputes, because they're there because people don't understand what their role is in this, as you explained, many different relationships over the years. And I just want to give a shout out to the Library Advisory Board. I've been so impressed with them over the last couple of months. I think they're a great example of, they understand their role. Obviously there's always new members coming and going and they have to learn, but they're very well organized, and I think they understand their role is to advise, but they don't go in there and tell Melissa, this is what we're doing. Melissa's in charge of the library and she gets paid to do that. And sometimes she has to make the hard decisions about what can and can't happen. And sometimes, city council gets involved if there's complaints and things like that. But I think the advisory board is great in that they make suggestions, and they have a really good relationship with the staff. So I just think it's definitely doable, and I think it's a matter of maybe reevaluating those roles and getting everybody together and saying, here are our resources, here's what we provide, and here's what we want. We would love to see come from you. And I think that survey, getting that on board, is definitely another way that we need to get regular feedback from the attendees. And in a couple months, I may just be attending myself. So get in shape. No, just kidding. Thank you.
Councilmember Davis.
Great comments by Councilwoman Whitaker and Scagliola and Hayward and everybody else. I would ask for three things. One, we're talking about one facility and one program. And you mentioned that a lot of the policies are scattered in different places. So, the advisory board, what we have in our packet tonight says there's a policy manual. I don't know if I would call it a policy manual. I would almost call it more like a senior center operations guide. I would like to see that information consolidated into one guide. And it should not be that difficult to gather all the stuff of how we do meals, how we do recreation programs, who's responsible for what. We have three entities. We have the advisory board, we have the city, and we have the contractor. We ought to be able to make sure that we're addressing their roles and responsibilities in a singular guide so that we're all on the same page, and that should eliminate a lot of this confusion. Number two, like you said, we're non-compliant with the contract to a degree with not doing surveys that we should be doing. I would like to see a survey done sooner rather than later. And I would also ask that if you're going to develop a survey, I would ask that it be sent to the council just to get a review ahead of time before it's sent to the 700 and some members out there. And only for the purpose that the council can decide whether or not the survey is answering the questions that we might need as the ultimately deciding factor on where the senior center is going or not going or how it's operated. I would just like that the council members have the ability or afforded the ability to turn around and provide input on what we're asking. I mean, I don't want to see a survey, me personally, I don't want to see a survey that just says, how do you feel about the trips to the casino? I mean,
Yes.
I want to see a well-balanced survey that's addressing the overall aspects of a senior program. And then finally, we've got another agenda item tonight that's going to talk about boards and commissions. We have council liaisons to every other board and commission we have in the city, and apparently we don't have one. It must have fallen off the table somewhere, to the Senior Center Advisory Board. I would recommend to the mayor that we also add a billet for a council liaison to the Senior Center Advisory Board meeting so that at least we can stay in tune with what's going on and provide some input when needed.
Just to clarify for everyone here, the advisory board obviously is elected members and is not appointed by council, so it's just a different board and commission than the others, but doesn't mean that you still can't have a liaison. Just want to make sure everybody understands.
No, I think, yeah, I think Councilmember Davis is, really wants one that will be there on a regular basis to represent the council. Sorry about that. I didn't speak straight into the mic. I guess it's my turn. First of all, thank you, Mr. Sandoval, and I see a director back there, Mr. Fishback. Thank you all for providing the service at the senior center. I only have one senior, my stepmom, my mother-in-law. Let me tell you, it's a handful. And you have over 100. I mean, it's, bless your heart. But anyway, I see where the disconnect occurred when the city ran it and we had the advisory board, and all of a sudden we put a third layer in there and really did not identify the rules and responsibilities of each layer. I think in that aspect, the senior guide will provide that, as Mr. Davis said. We need to find out the defined roles of each entity. Their advisory council is just like our council. They meet, but who shows up? Very few people show up. I see that occur. I attended a couple of those meetings. You're right. It's only the members themselves that the advisory committee that meets, and you hardly have any participation from out there. But part of what I've seen is that instead of going straight to the advisory council when they have something that they need to address it to the advisory council. See whether or not the advisory council can address their issues before it goes to the director, before it comes to the city. I don't think the proper steps are being identified by the members on the proper steps of bringing things to their attention. So I think the guide will provide that, and also provide the seniors themselves an understanding of the policies, the rules and procedures on how to address concerns. YMCA staff, Mr. Fishback, how big is your staff? Three? Okay. It's, with three, that's including yourself, am I correct? Four, okay. And then over how many programs? I think there was over 200 programs provided on a monthly basis. That's a workload. So when you have one program that, where an instructor doesn't show up, the complaints come in, and they go straight directly to the director. Should go to the advisory council, and then to the director. That's why I say, we have to find out, the proper way of addressing some of these things, because the director's getting blamed for not having someone there. And not only that, he has to run the day-to-day operations of that senior center. And that's why volunteers are needed. You have volunteers at the front desk. You have volunteers for serving the meals. You can't do it with 4, because you're also maintaining the facilities, making sure that there's cups. All that is, it's quite a workload. And part of it is the budget. If you go back to the budget there, our city is spending $109,000 on meals, and we're getting reimbursed about $29,000. So it's costing the city an extra $80,000 just for the meals. Membership. What is the membership? It's not all Schertz residents, but all Schertz taxpayers are picking up the bill on this, and that is a loss of $220,000. So we have to, take a closer look as to, are the fees that we're charging for our residents the same as what we should be charging for Cibolo residents? I'm not saying increase it, where they pick up 220,000, but it's got to bear a little more responsibility on the other cities that we provide services for. I understood that the percentage from Cibolo provides 40% of the acting participants in our senior center.
That data was from 2020.
Mhm.
I don't have the current data with me.
But
That
it's-
was the case
yeah,
in 2020.
in
Yes,
2020.
that's correct.
Yet-
Yes, we had this presentation December 2019 where I talked about that. And I think at that time, you had charged me with going back and looking at a resident, non-resident rate structure, but because of COVID, the timing wasn't right. We didn't proceed down that route.
Mhm.
I'm happy to have that discussion again.
I think part of the survey should have those numbers on there too, so we can see exactly, what the population of
Oh,
our
we can get that
seniors-
data from our
yes.
membership data. We don't need to do the survey on
Okay.
that. Yeah, we have that. I just don't have it with me today.
All in all, I go to senior center on a monthly basis. Am I correct, Mr. Fishback? And for the most part, the majority of seniors are happy with what is being provided. You're always going to have a few that are not pleasant with, regardless of what it is, the situation, the mirror, whatever it is at that point in time. But that is the same thing this council deals with on a regular basis. We have to be patient. We have to be tolerant, and we have to let the staff, perform their duties. Some of the things that we identified, like I said, the guide will take some of that information. The survey also is a good idea to find out exactly where, what needs to be brought up to our attention or the director's attention so that they can address. And certainly, we should put a liaison on, one of our council members should be part of that advisory committee so that we can report back to this council and see how things are going. But all in all, thank you all for providing the services to the seniors that we have here. But any other questions, council? No? Yes.
For the advisory committee, they meet every other month at what time? It's 1 o'clock?
On non-bingo days?
On
No.
non-bingo days or on bingo days?
No.
It's a Thursday.
Third Thursday,
Third
1
Thursday,
o'clock.
okay, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's January, March.
Third Thursday.
Every other month,
May,
May,
July.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, I figured we needed to know that if we're gonna put a liaison there.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Ms. Schrum. All right. We'll move on to roll call confirmation. Our city secretary, Ms. Edmondson, will provide us a roll call confirmation on consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3, and discussion items 4 and 5. Ms. Edmondson? Oh, I missed number 8. I am so sorry. You're right. That's my mistake. I have notes all over my number 8. So you can't read number 8 here. Okay, number 8, we have council liaison boards, commissions, and committees. First of all, before we get started on the assignment, is there any council members that want to relinquish some of their committees or liaisons? Yes, Ms. Whitaker.
As much as I love these opportunities, and the audit committee was my very first committee, I would like to give that up, mostly because I'm not available next week when they're trying to meet. And I think it's only once a year, so it'd be kind of pointless for me to be on a committee I can't attend. And then library advisory board would be an excellent liaison opportunity for a newer council member. Just saying. Thank you.
Okay, and that's it, right? Okay. Councilmember Davis, any changes to? No.
Prefer to keep my current assignments.
Okay. Councilmember Brown, Mayor Pro Temp Brown.
I'm good.
Okay. And And let's see, Councilmember Dalla. Okay, Councilmember Scagliola.
Somebody wants one or two of the alternate positions, not very challenging.
Okay. And we have 2 alternate positions, okay? Councilmember Hayward.
I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember Watson, we have available the Audit Committee that meets once a year during working hours. We have the Library Advisory Board, and we have the Cibolo Valley Local Government Corporation and the Interview Committee Boards and Commissions as alternates. Would you like to take on those? Yes. Okay. So we are assigning to Councilmember Watson the Audit Committee and Library Advisory as a, that's a liaison position, am I correct? Yes. Yes. Okay, and then we have 2 alternative appointments, the Cibolo Valley Local Government Corporation and the Interview Committee Boards and Commissions. Okay.
I'd like the interview alternate board.
Let's see. Well, no, I'm trying to see how many we have there. Okay, we have. Yeah, and see, the interview committee, we have Councilmember Davis and Councilmember Dalla and Whitaker. So we cannot add a 3rd one. We have an alternate. As an alternate, you want to be as an alternate? Okay. All right, so we'll move Councilmember Hayward down to the alternate position for the interview committee. And Ms. Watson will have 3. And we also have the senior singer liaison. Any? Okay, Councilmember Watson will take the liaison. Have another board member like to, another council member want to be part of that one?
I'll be an alternate.
Okay. So we have Hayward as an alternate, Watson as a primary. Okay, so let's go back and review. No changes to the mayor. No changes to Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Watson is picking up the Senior Center Advisory Liaison position as the primary. She is also picking up the Audit Committee as a primary, and also the Library Advisory Board. Councilmember Whitaker is removing herself from the Audit Committee and the Library Advisory Board. Councilmember Dalla, no changes to his. Councilmember Scagliola, we are removing the 2 alternate positions that he is assigned to. Councilmember Hayward is picking up the Senior Advisory Committee as an alternate. And the Interview Board as an alternate. Okay, and no changes to Councilmember Brown. We assigned that one to Councilmember Watson. Yes. I didn't mention that? Okay. CV, LGC. No, alternate. That is the alternate. Oh, that's right, the advisory. Yes, he is keeping the advisory, Animal Advisory Committee. And put myself down as an alternate also for the Senior Center Advisory Committee. Okay. Council, any other changes to this? Okay, I don't think there is a motion needed for these board assignments, so. All right, so we'll go back to, yes. Main Street Committee, that's right, we do have a Main Street Committee. Thank you for bringing that to okay. Is there any changes? Any changes to the Main Street Committee?
I don't think anyone, unless someone wants off, because it said we expired in 2021.
Right.
But I think because it's just it's gonna be there until we finish Main Street. After we finish Main Street, it goes away.
Right.
So
Well, I think we're at the critical point that we need to maintain its current board members.
then that, yeah.
Okay. No changes. Okay, so we got that taken care of. All right, we'll move on to roll call confirmation now. Our city secretary, Ms. Edmondson, will provide roll call confirmation on consent items 1, 2, and 3, and discussion items 4 and 5. Ms. Edmondson?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and Mr. Williams. For consent agenda items number 1 through 3, a motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Brown, Councilmembers Davis, Watson, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Hayward all voted yes. Motion passed 7-0. Item number 4, resolution number 23R-11. A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Brown, seconded by Councilmember Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Brown, Councilmembers Davis, Watson, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Hayward all voted yes. Motion passed 7-0. And the last item, number 5, resolution 23R-12. A motion was made by Councilmember Scagliola, seconded by Councilmember Dalla. Mayor Pro Tem Brown, Councilmembers Davis, Watson, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Hayward all voted yes. Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. All right, we'll move on to agenda items number 9, the monthly update on FY 22-23 approval expansion programs. Item number 10, the quarterly financial report for FY 2021 and 2022, the third and fourth quarter. And item number 11 is the monthly update on major projects in progress and the capital improvement projects. All these are information packets that were provided to council and available for public viewing. So there is no other discussion. So we'll move on to additional announcements by our city manager, Mr. Williams.
No announcements, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? Council, any possible items you'd like to place on a future agenda? All right, announcements by council members or events that they attended. Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Nothing this week, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I attended the TSAC meeting, nothing else.
Okay. Councilmember Watson.
Nothing this week.
Councilmember Whitaker.
I think I attended the Schertz Historic Preservation Committee. Was that? I think that was since our last meeting. That is all.
Okay. Councilmember Dalla.
The only thing I was able to attend was the Coffee with the Chamber. It was good to attend the first one of the year. And just another quick comment. I've seen through social media and stuff some of the reels or TikToks or whatever that y'all have been putting together for job openings and stuff in the city of Schertz, and some of them have been quite light and entertaining and quite humorous and definitely on point. So congratulations to whoever's doing that. They're doing a good job.
All right, Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, they finished the work over on Country Club Boulevard. It was nice and smooth as I rolled over it to yesterday or the day before, so thank you so very much. And then rodeo riders coming in on Thursday. I've been out there a number of times over the years, and sometimes it's bitter cold, and other times it's horribly hot, rainy, you name it, the weather conditions change. The one thing that doesn't change is those riders, they come to town, and I think they look forward to it. And I'd very much like to see more of a city presence out there this year. Last year, yeah, it seemed the interest might have been waning a little bit. I think partly we get into a conflict between the Northeastern Partnership meeting and the trail riders. I'm hoping we can maybe split up the city a little bit so we have more of a presence. Hey, it's a free lunch. And then finally, Frost Bank, I think, has their cowboy breakfast this Friday. And,
Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Yeah, the 9th.
Thursday the 9th. Yeah, son of a gun. Good thing I would have been a day late and $1 short. So anyway, that is the same day the trail riders come. So you get free breakfast, you get a free lunch. What a deal. Welcome to Schertz. That's all I have, sir.
Councilmember Hayward.
Yes, Mayor, I attended the TML Risk Pool Board meeting. It was a 3-day event. The first day we did some team building, and they took me out to learn pickleball. It's fun, but I won't be joining the league. And on the TML Risk Pool Board, I was the ex officio board member, and in October, they nominated me to take on a voting role. So in this last meeting, I am now a voting member. So I will be encouraged to, or I've been encouraged to take CEUs for risk pooling. And I will be not here for the first week of March because I will be in Orlando taking a risk pool, going to a risk pool conference. I attended Gil Durant's retirement ceremony. I did TML regional training as I am the Region 7 Board of Directors. Did the ribbon cutting with Inspiring Hope and Gratitude. They did a ribbon cutting at the Schertz Chamber. Great group of, great couple. They're trying to help people after post-COVID come out of trying to health and wellness because a lot of people are suffering from issues with being in COVID. I attended the AMPO Bike Month working meeting, and I'll be bringing some information to the Northeastern Partnership Luncheon on Thursday. I did the Schertz Development Subcommittee. I also went out to the mother, son, and daddy-daughter dance. I can truly say that Parks and Recs outdid themselves. It was very well decorated. They had entertainment. It was a unicyclist who was a juggler, a juggling unicyclist. They actually did a really good job in decorating and executing. I can tell you that the daddy-daughter dance was probably more hopping than the mother-son dance because it's probably not as popular. With that, when I first walked up, you could hear the music at the mother-son. The mother-son, you kind of hear it when you got to the lobby. Daddy-daughter, you could hear the music out in the parking lot. So they were hopping. I think it was like 100 mother-sons and 260-something for daddy-daughter. So it was well attended. And I just want to say, again, kudos to Parks and Recs for a very good event. That is all.
All right. Pretty busy, very busy. All right, the time is now 8:30. We stand adjourned.